Hey, what is up, gamers? Hope you all are having a great weekend. I am so incredibly excited because today I get to give you my video tour of the world's largest arcade. Yes, the Galloping Ghost Arcade, nestled in Brookfield, Illinois, about a 20-minute ride outside of Chicago, Illinois, is home to the world's largest arcade. I'm not sure if you knew this or not. I didn't notice until about 10 years ago, and I lived in the Illinois area my entire life. So if you haven't checked it out before, definitely highly suggest you go to the Galloping Ghost Arcade in Brookfield, Illinois, pay the $25 and play video games all damn day. Which is exactly what me, my wife, and my best friend John did on our last trip back there. It was a complete blast, and the best part about it is that if you get hungry or want to go have an adult beverage somewhere, you can simply leave and then show your receipt upon return and get back to playing your favorite arcade cabinets. Now, if you like this type of content, make sure to like this video. Tell me what you liked in the comment section below, or tell me what you didn't like so I can improve in the future. Also, if you're a fan of arcades and just retro video gaming in general, make sure to subscribe to my channel. So also, if you want to be alerted of new videos in the future, ring that bell for notifications so you can be the first ones to check them out. All right, without further ado, let's get to the tour of this amazing arcade. And here we are, officially at the Galloping Ghost Arcade. This is what we were waiting for. I hadn't been here in a solid 5 or 6 years, so I can only imagine from what I've heard from my friends that this place has significantly expanded since then, both in the number of types of different arcade cabinets they have on their floor, but also in the number of rooms they have as well. So more than obvious, I was super excited to enter. You can see right when you enter that they rebranded a little bit different. They charge $5 more to get in, but trust me, it was well worth it for how much time we spent here. And really, when we think about like the kind of environment this place fosters, you just want to support it because it's an awesome, positive environment where gamers of all kinds can really come here and enjoy their favorite arcade cabinets. I want to say that like there was such a wide range of different clientele here. There were people that were young, probably playing arcade cabinets for the first time ever, and there were definitely people that were older like me who like had been huge patrons of different arcades in the 80s and 90s that loved coming back and seeing their favorite arcade games in their restored awesome glory, as well as checking out some new arcade cabinets as well. One of the things I have to mention that this place did so well was it did a really good job of classifying and arranging the different arcade cabinets based upon both the genre and type of games. So as you can see, there was a whole Street Fighter aisle full of games. We definitely spent a whole lot of time in there. Trust me, I think there's video on that later, but you know, we had to pay homage to all of our Street Fighter classics. And then games like Dragon's Lair, and you know, it was just so interesting that they had really a game for everybody, and some of the games are really rare too. So in looking them up and talking to people that are, you know, much more familiar with like the history of arcade cabinets in the past, you know, this place doesn't just house like all the your typical mainstay arcade cabinets, but it has a lot of rare ones, and it just has, and I can't even imagine like what the worth of all these combined would be. I'm sure it's in the millions of dollars. So this place is amazing. I think they boast somewhere between 600 and 700 arcade cabinets on the floor at any given time, and I can't imagine how many more they have in storage that they're ready to pull out if and when they expand. One thing you'll notice about this neighborhood is that the Galloping Ghost has really kind of taken over. There's also a Galloping Ghost, I think, gym, and then automotive place, and even pinball store as well, which I think if you pay the $5 extra, you can go check out and play a bunch of pinball games as well. But we only had time for the arcade itself, but if you can just check on my tour here, you can see that this place is really like almost a museum or arcade cabinets. There's ones I've never played before and ones I haven't even heard of before, and then all your classic mainstays as well. So there's really something for everybody, even people who might be, playing arcade cabinets for the first time, all the way up to seasoned vets who maybe grew up with arcade cabinets. So This place for $25 is an absolute steal, in my opinion, and an absolute must visit as well. So you can see that they had some of the cool different variations of the arcade cabinets as well. And just like, you could almost even get lost in here. There were so many different arcades. Arcade cabinets. Now you will see that they even had, like, for example here, like a wide range of different types of shooter games. So they had a whole aisle essentially like dedicated to that, which was, I thought was really cool, because like, hey, like, if you didn't want to play Lethal Enforcers, you always had another different game you could play that was similar to it. So different strokes for different folks, and you could easily just explore this place for hours on end. I think the first hour I was here, I was just really just looking around to see all that they had to offer. And there was even one of my favorite areas around the corner up there that I'll show later. It was the classic beat 'em up arcade style fighter. So like, those are probably my two favorite types of arcade cabinets, the arcade style fighters and also the classic beat 'em ups. So I definitely spent a lot of time in that section. But as you can see too, they also had like, kind of like one-off games as well, like ones you may not have seen in your arcade growing up that maybe you would only see in a type of place like this. So that was much more like almost like a playable museum. So sort of similar to the Pacific Pinball Museum in Alameda, if you've ever been there. We have a video on it, so if you haven't checked it out yet, we can show you essentially a virtual tour of it if you're ever wondering. We have a video where we toured that, so check it out. But this place is absolutely way bigger than the Pacific Pinball Museum in Alameda, but I mean, obviously cool for different reasons. This place just came across as more of like a playable museum, because I mean, every single one of these arcade cabinets is at least 10, 20, if not 30 or 40 years old. So just such a cool vibe in here. Everybody was really nice. Everybody was just, you could tell the people that maybe had been here before that were more used to it, and like, more in, more into the specific games that they had come there to specifically play. And then the people that were just walking around like wide-eyed like me, that were just absolutely floored and amazed by the wide range of games that are in here. Yeah, like, I mean, even at different times when I went in here with my wife and my good friend John, is that we wouldn't even like see each other for like 10, 15, even 20 minutes at a time, because we would be in completely different sections of the arcade. That's how big it was and how vast it was. Now, I have heard from a lot of different people that like there's another arcade that technically is bigger in terms of square footage, but I mean, honestly, like just from this video alone, you can tell that, this arcade really had it all. And I want to make sure that I focus on Terminator 2 Judgment Day here. And the reason why I took this extended video of the specific cabinet was because I spent so much time on that arcade growing up. If you were to try to like, send to NASA or something and try to calculate the amount of money I spent on it, it was probably like into hundreds of dollars, well over the amount of money I paid to enter this awesome arcade. I also highlighted Dragon Gun as well. Like, I had never played this game before, or if I had, I didn't remember playing it from my youth, which was 30 plus years ago. So, but I just thought it was really cool just to show that they had such a wide range of games. And of course, Contra. This is a game I love for the NES. I wasn't as big of a fan for the of Contra at the specific arcade, an arcade style Contra, but it was still really fun to play. And me, I had to play the mess out of it. This specific cabinet, Wacko, I thought it was really funny because of how unique and clever and creatively it was designed. Like, so I'm sure that's its appeal to playing it, right? Is that it's so unique. And then, of course, Donkey Kong. And one thing I will note is that the world record is on each of these machines at the top, if there is a world record for it. And a lot of times, the world record was actually set at the Galloping Ghost Arcade. So just note that this is such a, this arcade is such a like viable part and paramount fixture of video game and, arcade gaming history. They also had newer machines as well, as you can see in this aisle. So there was really something for everybody. Maybe the younger kids could have more fun in there. And then, of course, one of my favorites, NBA Jam Tournament Edition. I don't need to tell you how much I love this game. I once played the Sega Genesis version of this game for almost 7 hours and long played and beat every single one of the different teams. So needless to say, I love it. And then, of course, we have the Mortal Kombat franchise. I mean, these games were all simply amazing. You know, they came from Midway with love, and I still actually need to go pay Midway visit sometimes. Apparently, they're in Chicago as well, and I never knew that until recently. So for some reason, I'm finding all this really cool stuff out later, like this place exists only about 10 years ago. So yeah, I mean, Mortal Kombat is one of the grand fixtures of both video games and then also arcade gaming history. And up above, you can see the different characters that came in, have either signed that or, like celeb photo ops with them, which is really cool. Asteroids is a mainstay, a classic from way back in the day. I can remember playing this at both the arcade and also on the Atari 2600. Heck yeah, man, I love that game. And then Disctron, I think, is really interesting that they had one of these here. From what I've heard from people who go to arcades and frequent them, and I would say are much, more, not much more of an enthusiast than I am, because it's hard to be much more of an enthusiast than I am, but like more of an arcade, like, journeyman, so to speak, say that like if you have a Disctron, it's kind of like that's usually your that's your flagship arcade machine that you have. And I showed the Space Invaders 1 and 2 here because I thought it was so cool to see how well that they preserved those machines. Smash TV will always be an instant classic for me. That game was just so much fun to play, and just like your typical run and gun, kind of in like a top down, like maybe a Contra 3 approach. But Mrs. Pac-Man will always be my favorite Pac-Man game. Sorry, regular Pac-Man, but Mrs. Pac-Man just seemed to be a little bit faster, a little bit more hip. And for some reason, I don't know if the music was exactly the same or similar, but I liked the music more in Mrs. Pac-Man as well. And Tempest, oh my goodness. Now we're starting to get into the real, like the older classic games and all the games I love. Just so you guys all know, and you probably are aware of some of my other videos, but I play such a wide range of games. Like, I tend to really focus on the 80s and 90s, but I am never going to say no to trying out games from either earlier than that or even later too. So WrestleMania here, I remember playing this game in the arcade for the first time and being blown away by its graphics at the time. And here's John, my good friend John, and my wife here, Kristen, playing their favorite classic arcade style fighters. So, just going to show like how many games, like these aren't even like Big Blue or the Street Fighter 2 like typical games, but this arcade had it all. Joust is a game that is getting a lot of praise now because there's so many games that are popular now that are based upon a similar mechanics. Also, if you're familiar with the original like arcade Mario Brothers, it's pretty much like a Joust like clone but with Mario Brothers. And then also Killer Queen obviously is kind of having similar mechanics, the game that everyone plays today. Now I have to highlight Big Blue here, Street Fighter 2 Grandmaster Challenge. Look at this amazing arcade, like, and just how well it's been just taken care of too. Like, this got a heck of a lot of play from my wife, myself, and my good buddy John, just because it's just so cool. Like, it just brings you back nostalgically, and then also just brings you back to a time when you would just get lost in an arcade playing games for hours on end with the amount of money that your parents gave you, right? Or maybe your allowance that you saved up for like weeks on end. Battletoads is one of those games, and we all know Battletoads from the NES, crazy difficult, not getting past the speeder bike stage game for the Nintendo, but like this specific arcade game, while it is like, it would eat up a whole lot of quarters if we were actually putting quarters in there. And all these games were, set to free play, which, by the way, all the games within this arcade are set to free play. So you don't need change, which, is awesome. But this game specifically is a lot of fun to play, and so much fun that my good buddy John and I actually played through the entire game and beat it. So I won't reveal anything, but it's end boss and also like end sequences were really cool. This game specifically I wanted to call out just because like it was just such a novel idea and so creative, and just like, it just really goes to show that this arcade has something for everybody. So Dig Dug, of course, we've all heard of it. As soon as I was done taking this video, I definitely played this game for about 30 minutes. So I will always love this game. Punch Out, where it all started, yes, with the world records up there on top. I'm still trying to beat Mike Tyson in the NES version. One day I'll have it. I even bought a CRT TV specifically for it. This game, though, I think was where it all started. So, like, I have to give it a shout out to Punch Out. Virtual Fighter 2 is an amazing Sega game. I've been playing it a lot for the classic Sega game for the Nintendo Switch. I also have the original cartridge too, which is pretty awesome. This game is a lot of fun. It really just takes you back to the kind of, at the time, really revolutionary games, and the arcade version of that was, in my mind, the best. Now, I know I had mentioned it a little bit before and introduced it, but of course they had Lethal Enforcers as well as like a whole aisle full of gunners. So even if Lethal Enforcers wasn't your go-to shooter, they had plenty of other ones to check out, as you could see in this entire aisle full of them. So really cool stuff. You could, as I said before, you could easily get lost in this place. It was so massive and so amazing, and it was like touching on all of my little nostalgic heartbeats, and then even had interesting games like this. I had never seen this game before, so it had definitely a unique gun and multiplayer action to it, since you would be shooting at the same screen. Laser Ghost. And then of course my favorite arcade cabinet of all time. That I have the the reproduction arcade 1-up cabinet in my game room here / office. But this is actually one of the original cabinets from back in the day. I absolutely love this game. I usually play as Homer or Marge. Homer is actually a pretty good character in here, but I always have I love Marge's Reach. So in case you have never played as Marge, check it out. And then here we have the more of the Japanese style aerial fighters. So a lot of the games that might have come out on the Neo Geo, but if you're like me and couldn't afford a $600 console when you were a kid, some of the games you played probably at the arcade instead. R-Type, Super R-Type, amazing games, and amazing to play now here at the arcade. My wife was trying to lead me to a specific arcade, which is really funny, because this shows the wide range of different arcade cabinets that are here, but there's one that she wanted me to make sure I showed you. It's a Sexy Paradox. Paradius? I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'd never seen this cabinet before, but it was just kind of funny that it does exist. And just so many other cabinets. You could spend days upon days here and still not play them all. Dragon Spirit was a game, not like the best game in the world, but it was a game I actually played on console. And hey, you're a dragon, you shoot things, you blow things up. Great way to leave stress and anxiety. I will always love this game, so wanted to highlight it here. And it also made its way from the console, or from the arcade to the console, back to the console, right? Silent Hill just showed if they had new arcade games as well. So a game like this we would typically play at the mall back in the day and have to put dollar after dollar and maybe even $2 to play. But the fun thing was that this was all set to free play, so you could really get your money's worth just in this section alone. But overall, this was an amazing experience. I want to thank you for making it through this entire video and watching. And of course, if you like this kind of content, make sure to ring the bell to get notified of any future videos. Thank you so much for watching.